warm welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najuma Lima, but first are the headlines. Minister Majezi speaks out on contested Naguru Nakawa housing project. Museveni lectures World Health Organization officials, scientists on use of herbal medicine. Kenya's Deputy President slams Uhuru Kenyatta over poor leadership. KCCA misses opportunity to overtake Vipers after stalemate with police. A warm welcome once again. Now the news in detail. The Minister of Local Government, Raphael Majezi, has said that his ministry is no longer in charge of the contested Naguru Nakawa housing project. We have more. While appearing before the ad hoc committee of Parliament instituted to investigate the Naguru Nakawa land row on Tuesday, the Minister of Local Government, Raphael Majezi, said that the Ministry of Local Government ceased to be in control of the project in 2014 after it was taken over by the Office of the Presidency under the Ministry of Kampala Capital City and Metropolitan Affairs. Majezi said that his ministry ceased to be in charge of the project from the time Kampala City Council became Kampala Capital City Authority, managed under its own law, minister and departments under the Office of the President. According to Chris Niwandinda, the Principal Inspector at the Ministry of Local Government, the Technical Committee is still functional and is responsible for providing technical support and reports to the political leadership on the progress of the project and also acts as a channel linking the tenants to the developer. Minister Majezi told the committee that by the time the Ministry of Local Government handed over the project to the Office of the President in 2014, the developer had submitted to government a work program that delineated the activities that would lead into the commencement of the construction of the first 1,971 housing units, conducted groundbreaking for phase 1 of the construction of 900 apartments and submitted detailed structure plans and project master plan. He said that government has pledged to compensate each of the more than 1,700 tenants with 17 million shillings. The Alliance for National Transformation Party has condemned incidents of human rights violation that are ongoing in the country. The current incident is the arrest of the alternative TikTok journalists who were kept in custody beyond 48 hours without being tried in courts of law. Nalugo reports.
Speaking to journalists at their party headquarters in Kampala, former presidential candidate Mugisha Muntu said arresting the alternative dictator journalists was wrong, whose only crime was giving out information to the public. Muntu says the government should have condemned the said information if it was biased instead of arresting a whole media company.
Once information comes out, whether it's true or not, you come out and you contend with the information that is given out by the individual. You bring out your own side of the story. And then the public is done that will make judgment. Don't just arrest people because they have given out information either on a press conference or in writing a book or in whatever.
Muntu also said the government should learn how to manage public funds by investing in projects that will yield money in order to control the current inflation.
Okulaba nti enkozesa ya ssente zikozesebwa mu ngeri ennungamu, zikozesebwa mu bintu ebizaala ssente, si za kulya buli nga kati kye bakola. Ate n'okulaba nti emisolo okwongera beesi yaayo neyeeyongera, emisolo ne gyeyongera gye banaakozesa kuteeka mu bintu ebizaala, essente ne zeeyongere zijja mu kyagi kya gavumenti, yeyongeri yokka gye basobola okukola ki okulwanyisa ebintu eby'omuwendo okugenda waggulu.
The prices of basic commodities such as cooking oil, rice, sugar, bread, milk and other items have risen sharply in recent weeks, making them growingly unaffordable to the poor. Nalugo Muyingo, Africa Today.
President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has met with a team of scientists from the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, a World Health Organization, and herbalists at State House in Entebbe. In the meeting, the president took time to lecture the team on the significance of herbal medicine. Museveni said that since time immemorial, the Banyankore used it to treat tapeworms, among others, and the African people kept this knowledge a secret with their families. The president called upon doctors to work closely with the innovators of the herbal medicine through doing clinical trials in the presence of the formula founders, locally called herbalists, in order to rule out mistrust and thereafter identify the important elements which cure a given illness. Museveni also asked the scientists to look into the education curriculum and see how students can also benefit from their research. In her response, the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Honorable Dr. Monica Musenero, thanked the President for his relentless efforts in developing a science-led economy and specifically championing the development of indigenous herbal medicines. The Minister briefed the President on the 12-step natural therapeutic value chain, including forests and gardens, herbalists, technicians, herbal institutions, registration of intellectual property, research scientists, clinical trials, regulatory agencies, manufacturing, offtake and market, international clearance, consumer confidence, and marketing. Dr. Musenero vowed to adhere to the President's guidance and also informed him about the need to acquire a laboratory machine which will be used for trials. Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. Kenya's deputy president has taken a swipe at his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta, over his decision to support the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Ruto accused Kenyatta of his economic policies, claiming that Kenya was heading in the wrong direction and that he will fix the mess within 30 days after being elected into office.
The statement was in relation to current Kenya's public debt, which has risen by $61.32 billion from nearly $17 billion since Kenyatta assumed office in 2013. Ruto was declared as the presidential candidate to his new outfit, the United Democratic Alliance Party, on Tuesday during a national delegation that brought in more than 5,000 delegates across the country. He also accused Kenyatta of failing to honor his 2017 election promises and using state institutions to persecute political opponents. Ruto's fallout with Kenyatta began when in 2018, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga made a peace truce, popularly known as the handshake, with the current president. The handshake sparked speculation the two men had made a pact that would see Odinga succeed Kenyatta, a two-term president who cannot run a third time. The two leaders also sought to expand the executive through proposed constitutional changes that would have potentially allowed Kenyatta to stay in power as a prime minister.
Moving on, the leader of Somalia's semi-autonomous region of Somaliland has appealed to the international community to recognize the territory's independence. Speaking in Washington on Monday, Muse Bihi Abdi admitted that negotiations with Somalia had failed and that he would be pressing ahead with efforts towards international recognition. Despite not being recognized, Somaliland has kept its own independent government, currency and security system since breaking away from Somalia in 1991. The region has largely succeeded in holding regular elections over the years, including parliamentary polls held last year, further highlighting Somalia's failure to tackle extremism. Muse Bihi Abdi was elected Somaliland's president in 2017. Somalia still sees Somaliland as part of its territory. Since 2012, several rounds of talks over possible unification have failed to reach a breakthrough. Away from that, inspired by famous footballers and other African heroes, 27-year-old Teddy Kasoko creates video games with the aim of promoting the cultural richness of his native continent. According to Kosoko, countries in Northern Europe have Viking stories, in Asia, in South Korea, in Japan, with samurai stories, which made him think that with all the cultural richness from the 54 African countries, he may use the folklore tales to tell the story of Africa. He added that to make the trailer video and the trailer of sports, they traveled to Central Africa and made a real film, which took them to days with the real actors and was shot in stadiums. Haunted with the negative stereotypes of Africa, Kosoko wants to change that through video games. Kosoko argued that as Africans, they started with a historical disadvantage since there is a whole state of things to be deconstructed. He added that they must teach young people to love themselves, to value themselves, since there is a huge problem with this. He said that they really want people to deconstruct the things that have been put in their head, that they are not beautiful, that they are useless, and that they are good for nothing. Based in Toulouse, France, Kosoko outlines his latest creation, Golden George, whose main character is inspired by Liberian football legend and current president George Weah. The preparations for the Chadian dialogue is still ongoing in Qatar, with relevant parties agreeing to designate 10 delegates each from the government and the armed groups.
Several media reports have pointed at a wrangle among the armed groups who are not reaching a consensus on choosing delegates to represent them in the dialogue. The pre-dialogue session was suspended after a large number of people showed up, making coordination difficult. Since Sunday afternoon, the political military groups have been holding a series of working sessions to try to designate the 10 delegates who will represent them. Currently, 52 political military groups are represented in Doha. The talks between the armed groups are due to resume on Tuesday, with the aim of designating 10 delegates on Wednesday so that negotiations can resume.
Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business news today, Nigeria's inflation rate rose in February after recording a fall in January as Africa's most populous nation faces fuel shortages that have helped push prices higher.
The country's statistics office announced Tuesday that the consumer price index increased between February 2021 and February 2022 was 15.7% higher than 15.6% recorded in January. The National Bureau of Statistics say the prices of goods and services measured by the Consumer Price Index fell 1.63% points lower than the rate recorded in February 2021. The rise in the food index was caused by increases in prices of bread and cereals, food products, potatoes, yam and other tubers, oil and fats and fruit, according to the NBS. The Stats Office disclosed in its report that the percentage change in the average composite CPI for the 12 months period ending February 2022 over the average of the CPI for the previous 12 months period was 16.73%, showing 0.14% point from 16.87% recorded in January 2022. Nigeria has faced fuel shortages since February after importing substandard fuel, which resulted in weeks of severe scarcity and long queues at filling stations. The shortage has seen transport costs rise, thereby affecting goods and commodities. Without functional refineries, Africa's largest oil producer relies almost entirely on imported fuel.
Bageri.
In our health news today, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization has warned that the world is facing a potential food crisis with soaring prices and millions in danger of severe hunger as the war in Ukraine threatens supplies of key staple crops.
The prospect that the Black Sea grain trade will be permanently affected or that entire regions may not be cultivated is fueling speculation, given that the Russian and Ukrainian plains account for 7% of world production but 24% of grain exports. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on Monday that it's a two-pronged problem where Ukraine may not be able to gather in the harvest and Russia is under sanctions. Antonio Guterres, UN Secretary General, said that food, fuel and fertilizer prices are skyrocketing, adding that supply chains are being disrupted and the costs and delays of transportation of imported goods when available are at record levels. He said that all of this is hitting the poorest the hardest and planting the seeds for political instability and unrest around the globe. In Sudan, thousands protested in the capital and several other cities against a rapid deterioration in living conditions, including a sharp rise in the price of bread. On Sunday, the main food staple for most Sudanese rose by more than 40%.
And in our sports news today, police midfielder Ashraf Mugume scored a decent free kick in the 4th minute that was neutralized by a Juma Balinya penalty 4 minutes later. Let's take a look. Two well-struck set pieces under the opening 10 minutes defined the Lugogo All Affairs KCCA, and police shared the spoils 1-1 at the MTN Omondi Stadium, Kampala. Ashraf Mugume, a former police player, called home a free kick past Tom Ikara, ironically a former KCCA goalkeeper, from the edge of the area as early as the 4th minute. This happened after towering forward Davis Kasidie was fouled. 1-1 the final score read as KCCA missed the chance to overtake Vipers, who host Busoga United on Wednesday, March 16th this year at St. Mary's Stadium, Chitende. Eric Senjobe was named the player of the match. The 13-team league winners remain second on the 16-team log with 42 points, one behind Vipers. Police is 9th with 23 points fetched thus far. Meanwhile, Arua Hill and Wakiso Giants also recorded slim 1-0 victories over Soltilo Bright Stars and UPDF respectively. Joseph Bright Vuni scored Arua Hill's only goal past Soltino Bright Stars at Barifa Stadium in Arua City, whilst Rahumat Senfuka found Wakiso Giants' goal away at Bombo. That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.